the CPL event match. We're going to be casting the Coaches Showmatch today. Today with me we have Elegant AOV, aka Imbatos from Team Liquid.
Hey, how you doing?
So today we're going to be casting the matches between the captains of each team in the Coach Pupil League. Each one of these players is approximately B minus or above in skill. We have some community favorites here, such as Metal X, Dragon Pain, Tai 2, Art of Turtle. Um, I have posted up on the Twitch the matches. I believe I should have sent those to you as well, Elegant. I'm sorry I didn't do so. Let me send those to you real quick.
Thank you so much.
No
That'll
problem.
help me to
Yeah.
blag my way through it. Yeah, that'll be good.
I you
I
always
absolutely hate that I'm called Imbatos on TL. It's terrible. I've never gone by that name ever anywhere. That's the name I'm stuck with. Super, super frustrating.
why did you pick it in the first place?
It was ages and ages ago. I think it was, I don't know, I think it was before I was an AOV player. This is going way, way back when I was like a scrubby D plus kind of guy. Um, yeah, and I've just been stuck with it ever since.
Well, you could have changed your name at some point, but I think it's too late now.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's too late at this point.
You have a
Yeah,
special icon and everything.
I know, and I'd hate to lose that. There was some kind of it's hacker in StarCraft 2 at some point as well who went by the name Imbatos. So for a while, I was getting people going, "Oh, you're that
Oh
hacker." I was like,
God.
"No, I'm innocent. I'm not that guy. I'm not that guy."
You're the wholesome Boudoir player and caster.
Exactly. I'm actually quite reputable.
All right. Well, I actually this during all this setting up, I actually forgot to move the replays as well. So if you could save me a little bit, maybe if you know anything about these players, about these matches, that would be great while I move these replays real quick.
Well, I actually know relatively little about a good number of these players. I do know Dragon Payne. I know that he's a sort of old school player. He's been a very good player for a very long time, so he's going to be one to watch against Lumix. Lumix at one point was a strong player. I'm not sure about him now. All these guys are people who I either haven't seen for a while or who I've never seen at all. So this is actually kind of a fun opportunity to get a look at some of these guys. Looking at SAS Lumix, most people probably know the clan SAS. They're a high level. What country were they from? Hungary, some such, yeah, something like that. And he hasn't been super active over the last few seasons on IC Cup, but he regularly hits A minus, A rank, B plus in 2v2, B minus pretty easily in 1v1. So yeah, he's a good player, but I would imagine that he would have trouble against Dragon Pain, and that's going to be the second matchup. So I'll be interested to see how good Dragon is right now. Second one, Crispy Drone. Who is he? I feel like he's someone that we all know and love. Yeah,
Uh,
name rings a bell.
there's also Art of Turtle. He came from the D ranks leagues, way long back, and he's actually a C plus max player. He's the assistant coach. I forgot to mention that some of these people are going to be assistant coaches and some of them are going to be head coaches. But I believe
I see.
even among the assistant coaches, I feel like C plus is the weakest that you could be in order to qualify
I
as a
would say
coach.
so. Yeah, yeah.
So that's one thing to look out for. And Phasers, he used to go by actually, no, never mind. I'm sorry. That was a different person altogether. Faust is an up and comer. He is trying to hit B minus with all three races this season. He recently,
That's a tall order.
I'm sorry. Yeah, it is a tall
That's
order.
yeah.
He said that his Protoss is around C right now, and his Terran's at C minus, but his Zerg is obviously at B minus.
Yeah.
Demirity was an old school player. By old school, I mean like about 10 years ago, I used to be playing with him in a clan. And
Wow. That yeah.
And
Serious.
back then, we were both around C-ish, and now he came back out of nowhere, it seems, and he hit C plus with about, like, I would say a 75% win rate. So,
Solid.
yeah.
Solid.
So I'm looking forward to see his games against Atom Bomb, who is also a very solid player nowadays.
Okay, yeah, that'll be some interesting stuff. It's curious that you mentioned that was it Art of Turtle is a C plus max, and that just makes me think about how kind of how effective you can be as a coach when you're C plus max. And I'd actually say that you can bring a lot of value because thinking about the standard of play now in StarCraft Brood War, so many people have been playing so long. Knowledge about the game is so deep. there's so much information out there that even a C plus player, actually, I know we hate on kind of anyone who's below B minus generally as a fairly unworthy player, but actually you have to know a lot. You have to be actually quite high skilled to be able to hold C plus, relatively speaking. So I'm sure that there's a lot still that the learning players could learn from even a C plus such as him.
I definitely agree
Um,
with you, especially considering the fact that they were just recently um, D rank. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
recently is in the past few years, so they know what steps they took in order to get from D to D plus or D plus to C
yeah,
minus.
exactly.
Okay,
Mm.
well, I have all the replays in order now. Thank you for buying me some time,
Oh,
and
no problem.
I will be hosting the first game now. It will be on Circuit Breaker. The game name is CPL, password CPL.
We're gonna get flooded with people right now. We're gonna get what was his name? That guy who used to come and troll everyone of Sales Cast. Was it Steve Man? I think it was Steve Man.
I think that's the one, yes.
He just comes in and types as many insults as he possibly can before the inevitable ban. I actually met him on Ladder recently.
Yeah?
That was like a shocking moment.
Was he good or was he just a regular D player?
I can't remember. I've played so many games this season. I can't sort one from the other. But I feel like he was better than I was expecting him to be.
I see.
Mainly because I was expecting him to be absolutely abysmal, But I feel like he didn't shame himself, so that was actually a pleasant surprise.
Well, we might actually get to see Steve Man because Sale rehosted us, so thank you to Sale. And Bakuryu's here, so hello to Bakuryu. Hello RXDG.
No,
The
beautiful.
Yeah, the hidden D rank Bonjour is RXDG. All right.
Yeah, and I know our XDG. We're actually playing together in the rookie team league, and we've been practicing together. Yeah, he comes out of the dark and can surprise you. Absolutely.
All right. So in the top left, we have the green Zerg, NG Nujabase. And in the top right, we have the red Terran Phasers. And we're playing on Circuit Breaker. So anything you want to say about this map in terms of balance between Terran and Zerg?
I'm not so experienced on this map in terms of Terran versus Zerg. Just having a look over it now, it seems like maybe it seems like Mutas should be fairly decent. There's plenty of ways in and out of the main. There's quite a large perimeter on it. There's also a nice cliff over the natural, which you can potentially abuse as well, and that kind of comes down to its timings. There's also quite a large distance between one base and the other. So, for example, if we see the Zerg get his third base, maybe even in the bottom left-hand corner, then that is quite a lot of extremely open ground for Terran to cover in the early game. And particularly now, where the metagame focuses around a very marine-heavy sort of early mid-game and general mid-game, then that could make life a little bit harder just under the current meta.
I also feel like the multiple pathways entering into the main base, the two bridges, the high ground entrance, and the one from the low ground, the fact that there's more or less 4 ways to get on the Terran's kind of semi-island of the map kind of favors Zerg as well. There's a lot of opportunities to flank even inside Terran's comfort zone.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely think so. This is one of those maps actually where oh my god, I've got an effort playing in the background. That's some scary crap. Yeah, this is one of those maps where I've always favored a sort of, well, to speaking as process anyway, I've always sort of favored a bust kind of style, a mid-game bust kind of style, because if you look at the third base, the mineral-only third base, you've got this big ramp which leads directly down onto that third, and a lot of players just aren't very good at sort of defending that long stretch leading up to the third and covering their angle down that ramp. So if a player makes his third base on the mineral only, then it can be rather vulnerable to attacks coming down off that big wide ramp. It can be very tricky to deal with. Scouting wise, we had the Zerg Nujabes. I don't know how that's meant to be pronounced.
It's Nujabes. It's a Japanese producer, but his real name, like his team local name, is Herbmon.
Herbmon. Okay, cool.
Herbmon.
He's scouted the wrong direction with the Overlord, obviously, but he does have the drone going up to the top right-hand corner now. So he sees where the Terran is, and that Marine's just going to push the drone away. Meanwhile, he is getting his spawning pool back at home after getting the hatchery first, and he's about to be scouted as well by Phasers, who went also in the wrong direction. So not too much of an issue there, and Phasers now getting a command center of his own as well.
I'm being grilled for my English here. I'm pretty sure in the word herb, you don't pronounce the H. It's Herbmon.
You certainly pronounce the H.
No, you do not.
Come
It's
on.
herbs. Herbs and
Oh,
spices. That's the American
oh,
way of saying it.
oh no. Oh, it's horrible. Don't do that to me. Herbs. I've never understood that. Why would you chop off the H?
It's,
I mean, that start a word as you mean to go on. You don't start by chopping off the first letter.
it's herbs and spices, my friend.
I've never understood that. I've always wanted to ask Americans, have you ever thought about why you say that? I thought maybe I should just not say that. It's like when people say I could care less. I've never understood it. I've never understood how it's meant to work or how that occurred. It
Well,
just doesn't.
I can explain to you the herb. It's because coming from Russia, I pronounce every single letter that's written in front of me, right? So I'm in school, and we get to a point where there's words like chaos. I say chaos. I get corrected, right? I say
Oh, really?
I say herb. They say no, it's herb. I'm like,
Yeah,
oh,
but they're
okay.
wrong. You're good there. I mean, chaos, meh. That's not so good. Oh, look at this. FaZe is looking like he might get his scouting SCV picked off. He's been a little bit weak on his scouting SCV, actually. I've been keeping an eye on that, and he hasn't been keeping it moving very well. So he's lost far more health than he needed to. And it looks like, as a result, he's going to be pushed out, again, earlier than he would need to be. So he's not going to be quite necessarily so wise as to what his opponent's doing. But he's perfectly safe back home. He's got a good number of Marines. He knows he doesn't have to defend up too much because he knows there aren't many Zerglings on the way. So I guess the SCV has done enough for now. And he's going up to a mech build. We see him going straight into double factories right here, which is, again, a real digression from what we commonly see these days.
Yeah, Phasers has two things that are very classic Phasers. One is bad SCV micro, because he says that he pretty much says that he doesn't use it. You know what I mean? He's like, oh, I'm not getting cheesed. Okay, that's it. That's the length of his analysis. So, and then the factory build. This is another Phasers classic because he says that his bio control is weak, so he prefers to go factory.
Okay. I mean, to me, that seems like this is something I would work on rather than avoid, because
Definitely.
he's avoiding a really strong part of the meta there, which is this the fast sort of multiple barracks style. So it seems like a very inelegant way to deal with the issue. Like, I'm not good at that. Okay, I'll just do something else. Something that's generally suboptimal by comparison. So, yeah, not too sure about that. Hopefully, he doesn't pass too much of it on to his students.
Well, this build, I don't want to reveal too much, but it's not what it appears to be. Like it's
Okay.
it's not the sense that you're bad at bio so you don't do bio. It's like you're bad at bio so you have to give yourself an advantage going into bio. That's the way I understand this build, because he taught me this build, and I think it's actually quite clever. He used it to beat Assault in the past, so let's see if he pulls it off against Herbmon here, whose Spire is just about done and it gets scanned.
Yeah. This is quite interesting because I'm watching their APM as well, and Phases if this is right, it claims that he's at 366 APM. I don't know how a guy with 366 APM is unable to keep a scouting SCV alive. How is that possible?
It's the social pressure, you know what I mean? If you're B minus, you have to have 300 APM, so you find any way to make it that way, and then you
otherwise all the
to
B minuses laugh at you.
Exactly.
You just hold down Shift F2 and it just spams you up to 1,000, and then you can go for a minute or so at just 20.
I thought that I was told that the screen lock keys don't actually affect your APM.
I think if you there is one way. It's either you hold down control group hotkey or something like that, and it just spams you up super high. But now we have Mutas coming out from Nujabes, and he's heading over to Phases main, of course. Phases is very adequately prepared for this. He's got 4 Goliaths on the ground. He's got good missile turret coverage, so I wouldn't expect very much damage at all to be coming out of this. So Nujabes needs to understand that early and find a way either to pivot out of what he's doing here with his Mutas or make them useful in some other way. He does have his 3rd up already, however, so he's not in too much trouble. He's got that base, and he should be able to buy some time before the Terran is able to push out.
Yeah, one thing, I think that Nujabes found the one weakness in Phaser's position there is the fact that all those Marines were stationed to the left of the command center, not covered by turrets, so he did manage to lose a couple there in a build where he's honestly relatively low on army in general. So going into this, who is the in-game observer? I am. I am amateur. I'm sorry about that. And we see a turret getting picked off here. See, switching to
We do
Hydra now.
also have we do also have back at home. We have a Queen's Nest up already for Nujabes. So I wonder if he's about to go Hive. You'd have to presume he's going to go for a very fast Hive right here. Um, I can't really think why else he'd be doing that right now. But he is going for Hydralisk first, not making use of that Queen's Nest quite yet. So we'll see where he takes that in just a minute.
Yeah,
He is evolving Carapace.
I do feel like he saw the mech and changed his plan. He probably threw down the Queen's Nest to go for a fast hive, and then he saw mech and he decided, no, that's not what I'm going to do. And Bakuryu
Yeah.
accurately pointed out the build that it is. It's 2 fac into 4 racks Marine Medic +1. But FaZe was actually going with 5 racks here. So this
Yeah.
could be devastating against Hydralisk. This is exactly why what I mentioned, that if you're not good at going bio, you go for a build that gives you an advantage when going bio.
Yeah, I see that. It seems it's a curious build though, because it sacrifices that kind of impetus that Terran gets in the early mid game to get out and causes Zerg some problems, just in favor of a very defensive style. So it kind of does sacrifice some of the good things about that. These mutas keep poking in. I feel like he should have seen at least 1 or 2 of those barracks by now, and he should be cottoning on to what's going on. He should be sort of aware that that's happening, and should be able to react accordingly. He has got a fairly good core of Hydras out now, but as you say, it's going to be difficult for him to deal with a bio-heavy army with a mainly Hydra Muta army.
And it should be noted, I feel like part of the reason why this build would work normally is that Zerg is inclined to take many bases against mech, but Erdman did not take that bait. He did get for both Hydralisk upgrades before getting Lurker, so I feel like he's still unaware of the Marine bio coming out. And
yeah, you may well be right. He just doesn't seem to be preparing for it at all, and it's starting to get to the point where it looks like he's just going to get crushed by this because he's just so unprepared. His army composition is absolutely terrible to deal with what's coming at him.
And it looks like the time is now. They're moving out now. The Mutalisks finally catch wind of this. Let's see what the reaction is from the Zerg player. Is he going to get Lurker upgrade? Is he going to position his army
Nothing
in a
as
certain
of
way?
yet. Straight into Hive. He throws down the Hive immediately, but I feel like anything that comes out of the Hive tech is going to take a good long while to come in. It's definitely not going to be enough to defend him from what's coming across the map. We don't have the Lurker tech coming in even still. It looks like he's going to try and rely on his pure Hydra mass. His bottom left-hand corner base is also taking a long time to get working. He's still only got 3 drones operating down there. I feel like he's been a little bit lax on that. However, doing some decent Muta harass, managing to pick off a good number of the Marines as they come out onto the map here, and that could just be the kind of thing that's going to buy him enough time to get himself sorted with some tech that's better able to deal with this.
Oh, this micro here is atrocious. The Goliaths are walking straight in. They're dying. These are the Goliaths that you need to defend against the Mutalisks. And now this army has gotten whittled down.
Wow, yeah, not just whittled down. This is about to get absolutely slammed. All the tanks going down, and the remaining Mutalisks now coming from behind as well. FaZe is just absolutely chucking his army in the bin, and now it's him who's going to have to be massively backtracking across the map. And he's going to try and have to do something to get himself out of this really tough spot. Because this entire game has been building up to this push, and now this push is absolutely whiffed. I mean, this was an unmitigated disaster. There was every reason why this should have gone well, but it just went absolutely hideously, and now he's going to be on the defensive. Still trying to get some impetus down to the map. Oh, grabbing a Mutalist there. Very nice. We can do a few more of those. Might be able to get back into the game. We've got a flank coming in right now from Nujabes. Is he going to make the most of it? No, it looks like he's going to beat a hasty retreat and then just get us around on these Marines. And here come the reinforcing Hydralists as well with the Mutas in over the top. And this is just absolutely going to slam the army from FaZe once again, even as it's just starting to rebuild. And I don't know what FaZe is going to be able to do about this. Nujabes might even try and push all the way in right now. And he does have the Hydralist numbers to do that if he so chooses.
You're very much correct, but the third tank is out here. It's going to come down to the Mutamicro as well, but the Hydralisk mass is just way too great. Tanks are going down, and there's nothing left to defend FaZer's base now.
Yeah, FaZe is just getting torn to shreds there by a superior-sized Hydralisk army. Nujabes is now just going to be able to waltz on into the natural, take out missile turrets, and once those missile turrets are down, then these Mutalisks are also going to be able to wreak havoc right there. And honestly, Nujabes hasn't been threatened at all, not once this game. He hasn't had a single issue in dealing with FaZe, so FaZe is really going to be feeling pretty rough after this one, as Nujabes just continues to push on into the natural and now potentially up the ramp as well.
You're absolutely correct. I do feel that one thing that went in Nujabe's favor was the fact that he didn't overcommit to the anti-mech. He didn't take 5 hatcheries as soon as he saw the Goliaths, as some Zergs might be want to do when they suspect that there's a mech player. That he stayed conservative. He adapted well first to the mech build, and then he had pretty much just out microed the bio mech push.
It was sort of out microed, but he just sort of got into a decent position. He got his army into a decent position and then waited for phases, and phases just sort of plowed forwards and failed to siege up properly and didn't position his army well and just basically handed it to Nujabe's on a silver plate. And now he's continually trying to push out, but he's not going to be able to make any real headway. He does take out this little trickle of Zerg forces, which was hanging around outside his natural, but Nujabe should be able to macro it pretty nicely from here.
And Phasers has taken a hit in third base as well. So maybe there is some way that he could still get his leg back up into this game, but we have Ultralisk Command on the way with speed on the way for the Ultralisks. What's your opinion on that? We're getting speed or armor first for Ultralisk? I believe that armor is better first, isn't it?
Yeah, I think armor makes far more sense first because they're just such a big investment each one. And it's like if you've got speed, then you can get your massive investment over to the other side of the map so that you can die quicker, and that just seems redundant. Especially when right here he's not in any great rush, So as long as he's just cost efficient from now on, the only way he could really lose this at this point is if he's horribly cost inefficient. From now on, just is able to do nothing. It seems like armor would be the better solution for dealing with that. Nujabe's macro feels very, very slow really coming online though. It feels like he's been very lax on building his economy back at home. His economy is still looking really weak. He's only just now getting a fourth base. I would have liked to see that fourth base potentially happening a bit sooner, or at least having a higher drone count over his third a bit earlier than this. His money also has been hovering at quite a high level for quite some time now, which is a good explanation for why he just hasn't been able to finish phases off at all, even after those devastating attacks.
It should also be noted that his melee and his Hydra just got +1 attack. His melee is at 0/0 upgrades, including the Ultralisks. So I do feel that Phasers has a little bit of room to breathe right now that he should be taking a big advantage of right now. He is starting his fourth base at the mineral only, and Ultralisks are now moving out with 0/0 in speed. If there were more mines here, I feel like Phasers could definitely put his foot in the door on this game, so to speak.
Yeah, I think you're definitely right. I feel like this really shouldn't happen. Nujabe needs to get a slightly better handle on what's going on the map. He could be scouting every area right now completely without any issue whatsoever. He has total map control. He needs to be more aware of what kind of unit count FaZe has got and where that kind of money is coming from at this point. Now we see the racks float as well from phases, possibly just to make space for more factories.
Yeah, he's going to be transitioning back into mech. It's the mech into bio into mech build. And now the Ultralisks run in, and they all still have only 1/1 upgrades. They don't have the armor.
Yeah, and this is just looking like it may not really be enough. Those Ultralisks aren't as tough as they should probably really need to be in this situation. You can just see how Ultralisks, you'd expect them to last through far more punishment than that, but they all just completely get ripped to shreds in a totally fruitless attack for Nujabe. The only good thing about that was that it enables him to keep FaZe's tank count low, which of course is important, but it just feels like that could have done far more. And he could have an absolutely storming army by now. His economy just has not grown at the rate you would hope it would have been. He could have masses of troops, by now, just to throw at phases, and it just seems like he's a bit slow on the uptake with that.
Yeah, he's it's been the past minute he's been droning up behind this. He had about 40 drones about, I would say, 2 minutes ago. He had 40 drones. Now he's up to 70. I feel like he was just cutting drones for a very long time because of the fact that he had to stop that first push with the Hydralisks and Utilisks.
I mean, maybe that's something worth fine-tuning a little bit, because looking at it, he could have had that the Hydra macro kick in a little bit later, I feel, and he still would have been fine against what was coming at him. I suppose it's an issue that he didn't know what was coming at him, so he felt like he had to prepare for an earlier attack, but what do you reckon? Maybe he could have gone a bit harder on the eco a bit earlier and then had more of a Hydra explosion just a little bit later.
You're definitely correct, but now, as someone said in the Twitch chat, it looks like that the game has been reset, and I definitely agree with that. Defiler is out.
Yeah, the
Oh,
game has been reset, but Nujabes is still playing a little bit like a guy who thinks he's definitely going to win. Throwing in his army right now. The Dark Swarm coming down late, and now the Dark Swarm going down all over the Marines, and those Ultras are finally able to actually push and make some headway. Under that Dark Swarm, it's going to be very hard to flush them out, and they do manage to shut down the mineral only. Of course, Nujabes still doesn't know that fourth base is operating down in the bottom right-hand corner, so he thinks he is doing incalculable damage right here that FaZe is going to have an almost impossible time bouncing back from, because FaZes, he thinks, is now down to one mining base without that, whereas in fact FaZes is still on two. So this could be a really crucial miscalculation for Nujabes as he throws away more units than he can really afford against a larger economy than he thinks he's playing against. And there you go, the last of his Ultralists go down in what turns out to be a rather expensive attack.
that is definitely true, and he is still streaming units, 12 at a time, it seems like. I mean, 4 Ultras, about 8, 10, 12 links. This is, if he's going to attack piecemeal like this, it's not going to be good for him. He's going to keep losing and losing units, but it seems like his macro is slipping behind this as well. He's up to 1,800 minerals.
Yeah, his macro really not as fast as it needs to be, but it looks like he may be able to break in anyway. Phases just not able to maintain enough mine coverage or a decent enough tank count to really hold off the attack. And if Nujabes can get his macro together and get some more troops storming in right now, then he's on a good track to win this game, regardless of whether or not he scouts the bottom right-hand corner, which it does indeed look like he may go the entire game without doing so. He did lose a Zergling, which he had hanging around that natural, so maybe that should give him a clue. But now we do see more units coming across the map from Nujabes, and he's going to be able to have a good go at finishing phases off once again.
I find it puzzling that Phasers, I mean, he has only 2 factories down at the bottom and 3 factories at the top, but he's not producing that much. I feel like the fact that he split his army up made him overcommit to defending the hidden base that's still hidden, and not commit to the base which has all the important things in it, more or less.
Well, exactly, and that's meant to be the point of a hidden base. If you're behind, you get a hidden base so that it's a free base. You don't have to invest in your army in defending it. It's a risk, but it's a calculated risk. And it feels like he's sort of copped out of taking that risk all the way through. And now he's getting busted all the way back into his main. Ultra is now all over his stuff. It looks like it's going to be game over. There's Defiler in there as well. And as long as that Defiler's alive, then he's going to have an extremely hard time fleshing out the Zerg force. Ultra is now just going to town on the factories. The factory's going to have to lift up. And meanwhile, Phases is starting to main out all his stuff back to the bottom right-hand corner, where perhaps he's going to try and mount another defense with those siege tanks that he's got remaining.
I mean, if you think about it, there was really nothing left for him in that base. There was no minerals on either the natural or the main. Might as well do a full transmit. Oh, Mind Debak!
Oh,
I was waiting for it.
That was a beauty, man. That was an absolute peach. And once again, a whole load of Ultralists going down, just sucking up the tank fire right there, because that's a good number of tanks. But the main for Phases is absolutely knackered. And you say there wasn't much for him up there, but this was his entire infrastructure. And if you just think of how much money he's got invested in all his infrastructure and how much time it's going to take him to build all that again, then that's just such a massive blow to lose that. He can swap, sure, he can go down to the bottom right-hand corner, but I see no way that he's going to be anything other than trapped inside this little mineral-rich prison right now.
True, and I mean, losing the depots is really bad for him as well, although he's still somehow surprising at 79 out of 136. But at this point, Urbmon is now up to, what is it, 6 base?
176 supply, 6 bases, and now the Zerg army stream is really starting to get into motion. We see that constant movement of units across the map that we're so used to seeing from when a Zerg gets in a dominant position. I mean, I give you half of them are apparently drones going around the bottom middle, but even so, he's starting to get that movement, that mass movement.
We're seeing drops on the tanks. Good reaction from him by unsieging, but that's going to make it so much easier for the follow-up units to go in, and that's GG.
GG from Phases.
Wow.
Yeah, Phases was in a pretty tough spot all the way through that. I would have liked to see him commit a little bit harder to the idea of that hidden base. Like I was saying before, a hidden base is beautiful. You don't have to defend it, and if it gets discovered, then you do what you can. But until then you need to try, especially when you've gone so far behind early on. I feel like you need to try and ride that gravy train a little bit harder.
You're right, but at the same time, you can't leave it up there forever, because the more money you invest in there, the more money you risk losing. So it's a delicate balance, I feel, one that Phasers did not play quite right because of the fact that he had just so many tanks and so many vultures out there when he could have had more units back at his main base.
Yeah, it would have been better, presumably, if he'd have focused on building up a slightly more mobile army before it was discovered, and then he's got a more mobile army, or at least a chunky army with which he can threaten and distract attention away from that hidden base if and when it is eventually discovered.
Okay, so that is one win for Team Rocket, which is Tai 2's team. The next game is going to be Lumix, aka Metal X, against Dragon Pain on Jade. And I'm going to host that up right now. CPL, password CPL.
Great. So yeah, this next game is going to be a TVP. Two of certainly our stronger players of the day. Dragon, I would say, is certainly one of the stronger players of the day, but you can't necessarily count out Lumix either. So looking for a strong performance out of these guys, more hidden bases, stuff like that.
How do you feel about this map in Terran versus Protoss? I feel a lot of lower ranked Terrans complain about the fact that it's hard to defend against Protoss because of the I guess submerged main base, the low ground main base.
Yeah, I can absolutely see that. I can absolutely see how a heavy pressure build would be tricky to deal with. I can see how Reaver builds, potentially speed shuttle builds, would be a pain in the ass to deal with. Certainly, I can see how DT drops would be a pain to deal with. Again, because of that cliff. I see how sort of mid-game busts would be a pain. All kinds of stuff. I can see why this is a slightly tricky map for Terran. Having said that, though, the one advantage is I suppose they do have a fairly accessible gas third. It's not too hard for them to get across there and get to that gas third, especially if they can create some nice blockages at top of that big ramp there.
I like how you said family accessible. That's a beautiful way to say it. But I will introduce the players now. In the top left, we have Metal X, the blue Terran. And the bottom left, we have the white Protoss, Dragon Pain. So,
yeah,
a lot of people in the chat are saying that they're looking forward to a short game from Metal X because I believe, according to Phasers at least, that Metal X has always been known for his TVZ, not his TVP. And
okay.
I feel like that's true for most Terrans, though. So, we'll see what happens here. And Dragon Pain is definitely the person that I would suspect is more in shape right now. Metal X has been away from the scene for quite a while, so it'd be interesting to see if he is, I guess, aware of the... I feel like the modern way of playing TVP is slightly different than it used to be because of the low factory count pushes, like the higher 4-fact, for example.
Yeah, I feel like it comes into play that the modern Protoss style is a fairly greedy style. It tends to revolve quite a lot around getting an earlier natural than you maybe would have seen in the past, and so that kind of thing can be a bit hard to pull off if you're a bit out of shape. But it is kind of the way a lot of things go in the current meta. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see how Lumix deals with that and whether he's on top of what's going on or whether Dragon's going to be able to get away with stuff which he shouldn't necessarily be able to get away with.
And he's going for 14cc actually, or maybe 15cc, or
okay.
Just about to be 14cc, yes. And meanwhile,
so there's a fairly thorough counter to the concept of a greedy Protoss.
And Protoss in the meantime playing super standard, going for one Zealot behind a Cyberknight and a Cyberknight score. So
the Zealot is an interesting choice, and I feel like that's a choice that's really motivated by the reverse ramp. If your map knowledge is good, then you could, I suppose, expect that Terran is going to go for a fast expand on this map. It's not that unusual. It's not that surprising. The surprising thing is that that Dragon didn't choose to scout with a probe, knowing that he was going to make that Zealot. So that Zealot is now going to have a very hard time getting anywhere in time for it to do any good whatsoever. So not quite sure how effective of a choice that is. But yeah, now getting the Dragoon range, getting the Dragoon up also. And that Zealot just going straight to the top right-hand corner. I guess he's going to bump into that SCV, and I wonder if he kind of predicts this scouting path. Very, very smart, if so. I kind of have a feel that maybe that's just a little bit lucky, but maybe I should give him more credit.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it this way, that Zealot would have caught an SCV coming from either direction, so maybe there is something to it, and
maybe so, yeah.
And
Dragon is a high-level player, so you know we can't rule anything out. But that bunker, crucially, is going to finish just about as the Zealot arrives. So Lumix is going to be safe at the front door. Maybe we could see a run by right here with that Zealot to cause some problems in the main.
No, but Lumix
knows
in the way.
Yeah, exactly. He blocks on the ramp, and at most, this Zealot's going to be able to take out a couple of SCVs as it tries to bust down that ramp. We see it take down one SCV. That Dragoon getting in on the Marine as well, which is an issue and could cause extra SCV losses. Oh, just not quite managing to get another one. Managing to catch only 2 SCVs for his Zealot investment. So I guess that's sort of that just about pays off. And the Dragoon now having a crack at that barracks as well. And throwing down a natural expansion of his own Dragon Pain. Just doesn't want to get too behind on the eco camp.
If you were the Tyrant player in this case, would you put the bunker on the other side and then the racks to the right? I feel like that might have been a better choice to help defend.
Whoa! Lumix lifting off the barracks. What is this? Allowing an obvious run by from Dragon. I was just about to say, why would Dragon not do this? And he's going to be able to get into the main and snipe off SCVs, especially given how long away that factory is from finishing or for getting anything useful out. And this is absolutely horrible right now for Lumix. Dragon is going to be able to do so much damage, especially with Dragoon range finishing just now. Then this is going to be super, super difficult for him to flush out.
Oh my god. Is it safe to say that he has completely nullified any advantage he got from his expansion?
Yeah. Look at all these SCVs running around like headless chickens, trying to have a crack at these Dragoons. Bless the little cotton socks. They're just hacking away with their little mining tools. Like, get out of my base! And the Dragoons are just having none of it, just wandering around, blasting their heads off. Ouch. This is a bad time to be an SCV, and Lumix is learning some difficult lessons right here.
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
Down to 20 SCVs, 19 SCVs against the 24 of Pain, and who's next is just finished, and now it's officially the ball, I believe, is in Dragon Pain's court, who is taking third base actually as well.
Yeah, well, that's a completely natural progression. And that's a natural progression anyway. Even if he hadn't done all of this damage, then it's still totally viable to take a third base off one gateway and then start getting your tech and your macro pumping afterwards. But with things being as they are, I feel like this is just going to really put the hurt on Lumix in the mid game, and he's going to have to get some kind of great harass off or something like that just in order to get himself back into this. But we can see he's still a long way from that. He's only just now producing his first factory unit. He's producing a siege tank. Absolutely brutal stuff.
Yes, and it should be noted that throughout that whole entire harass, you know, he pulled SCVs to defend, but he didn't pull the SCVs that were on gas, so he got up to 600 gas. Those SCVs could have been mining minerals, giving him at least some form of income during that time, but instead he stockpiled 600 gas. Now he has to take all those SCVs off but one. And this bunker is a constant money drain on him as well, and this is lasting far longer than it ever should because of the fact that the siege tank came out so late. Yeah,
this is lasting forever. And I wouldn't be surprised with 3 Dragoons up there at the front and only 2 Marines in this bunker. I wouldn't be surprised to see these Dragoons dive in right now and pick off that siege tank, and they absolutely can. If Dragon just pulls back now, gets those 3 Dragoons in, and gets that siege tank, then Lumix's game just goes from bad to worse. But it looks like Dragon not too interested in doing that. I'm not quite sure why. Oh, and that siege tank position is just hideous. Dragon, go! You've got to do this. You've got to kill that siege tank for the love of Brood War. Don't just leave the Dragoon there, Dragon.
Wow.
Get that back. Oh, that siege tank is just. Oh, I want to get in that game right now and kill that siege tank off so badly. This is hurting me. Why, in the name of God, would you siege it right there, next to your...
Oh my god, and this other one is just as adventurous. It's just as adventurous as the previous. And this CC actually might go down. Oh no, it's cancelled in time, but still, that is such a major loss, and that SCVs do not get there in time. Looks like there's definitely a little bit of rust forming around Lumix's hands throughout this game.
More than a bit.
Some bad
I
decisions.
feel like this is his brain rather than his hands that is a bit rusty right now, because this goes beyond manual skill. It just feels like he's not thinking quite about what he's doing. Like building your CC in Dragoon rangeable area when you don't have the tank count to get out there is just it blows my mind. And that tank positioning, I'm never going to get over the fact that Dragon didn't kill that tank off. That's inexcusable in my book. You needed to get rid of that. But what do I know? I can't complain. Now Dragon going up to 4 gateways. He's got that third base ticking along very nicely. He's got great probe saturation. He's going to be able to stop making probes actually pretty soon, and he's just going to be able to trade off that big 3 base economy. And his macro is going to be terrifying.
Hold on. Look at the natural of Lumix. We're seeing a double CC, double expand.
What?
This guy is absolutely nuts right now. I mean, And I do want to bring it back to what you were saying earlier about the siege tank. As a Protoss player and as a person who is coaching this league, I would like all of our students to know that it's absolutely okay to run in there with 3 dragoons, kill the tank, and lose 1 dragoon or 2 dragoons even. I would trade two dragoons for the first tank any day of the week and twice
Yeah.
on Sunday. So there's absolutely
Yeah.
no reason not to do that. And he could have done it again when the next siege tank came out and sieged up forward. So I don't really understand why, but this is he trying to catch up in SCV production somehow before he's
Uh,
like
he, uh, don't try this at home, kids. That's all I can say. I'm not quite sure how he thinks he's gonna be able to defend so many bases. I guess he's gonna try and just hide
ah
his extra
yes.
base.
And to be noted, Phasers and Lumix good friends and also coach and co-coach of their team, so co-captain. So I
Right.
look forward to a lot of hidden bases from that team, I believe.
Yeah, it looks like it. He's gonna sit his team down. He's like, okay, guys, so I've got this strategy that we're all going to use today. Don't tell anyone else because it's top secret stuff. You're going to make a base where no one knows it is, and then you're going to have a bigger economy than anyone ever imagined. This top secret stuff. Meanwhile, we see a Dragoon push coming in, and finally, Dragon's taking out some vulnerable tanks. Oh, and the shuttle dropping the zealots all over there. This is more like it. Dragon getting in all up in Lumix's face, and Lumix, the inevitable GG. Out he goes. GG.
And that shuttle play was a work of art. It dropped 1 zealot per tank, more or less. It was like absolutely perfect. And I feel like Lumix's tank positioning was very conducive to that. It was in a straight line, which is normally
Yeah.
not a bad thing, but it was like at the perfect rhythm of how a shuttle would unload zealots if you press U and click on the shuttle itself.
Exactly.
All right, so let's see.
Just to
Let's.
be knocked down right there.
That's right.
Also, where it comes in useful to know what your opponent's doing again. I mean, there's no occasion in StarCraft where that isn't useful to know what your opponent's doing. But to know that if you're about to get shuttle bombed, then you can take better care of your tanks. You can position them in a way that's more conducive to defending that, and then target down the dragoons. But to be honest, he just didn't have enough. Didn't have enough to cover the ground. Didn't have any mines. Didn't have anything, and just got torn to shreds as a result.
Yeah, and instead of building maybe 2 command centers at a time and losing his first attempt at it, he could have had more turrets as well, which would have given him a little bit
Yeah.
more of an advantage. Maybe even a depot to help wall off that big ramp, or at least the small ramp to the side. Anything that he could have definitely invested more in defense instead of trying to get super greedy right away. But I feel like he
Yeah,
knew that he was incredibly
absolutely.
behind. He knew that he had to do something, so he chose the greedy option as opposed to the super safe option, and there's the result.
Yeah. I would have thought though on that map that he would feel a bit more comfortable going to a third base and building up a bigger army and getting it to the later stages, even if he's suffering quite a large army deficit. Then Terran can do a lot on third bases, on 3 bases, excuse me. Even if it takes a while to make anything happen, if he can construct a really airtight defense and just cause trouble that way for Dragon. Although having said that, Dragon was able to freely expand all over the map. So after that early game, it is hard to see any way back into it for Lumix. So I suppose we can't be too harsh on his 3CC choice.
And as well, it should be known that Dragon Pain threw down 2 Stargates right away, which, although I didn't follow up to check on it, that could easily mean that he was going straight into carrier production, which would have
Yeah.
again been very hard for Metalex to hold off, even if he had gotten that third base. So,
Mm.
anyway, let's move into the next game. We have Faust playing Zerg against Crispy Drone, who's also playing Zerg on Overwatch. Overwatch is the foreign Overwatch, not the Korean one. This is the 2-player map. Are you familiar with the new foreign maps that have been coming out?
Not so much, no.
I
I guess
honestly,
I'm about to be.
yeah, I honestly haven't seen very many games on them as well. But this league has included, I believe, 3 foreign maps. So I guess we'll be learning a lot from them. One of the ones that I am familiar
Yeah.
with is Latin Quarter. That's coming up later. But for now, we're going to be on Overwatch 2-player map. The game name is CPL. Password CPL.
On my way.
Hamtaro says that knowing Faust, this will probably be a Hydra game as well. Faust has been trying to push the Hydra meta into the game
Right.
for a while, so it would be interesting to see this. I hope that we do see that because that is probably my favorite type of ZVC to cast.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, I'll be very curious to see if he comes out with that. Yeah, cool. Let's get into it.
Yes. right, in the bottom right, we have the white Zerg SEC Faust. And in the top left, we have the blue Zerg Spank SCV, aka Crispy Drone. And I'm always puzzled by players who do that. You know, their name is Spank SCV or Tiny Reaver, and then they played like the opposite race. You know what I mean? Is that
It's
like a
very
mind
odd,
game?
isn't it?
It's a mind
Yeah,
game.
it's very strange. Is it? I don't know. This is another one of those things I just don't understand. Clearly, a lot of things elude my understanding in this world. It's like me calling myself Crazy Zerg, and it's like, oh, I'm a Protoss player. It always really baffles me whenever such a person joins my game and their race is just not what their name suggests. I'm just like, oh, okay, that's weird. Makes no sense.
I really think it might be a
Um,
mind game. They're like like you, it throws you off because you think that they're going their off race against you, like they're like already insulting you from the
yeah,
jump.
right. And then even if you win, it's not as sweet, you know, because it's
Yeah,
like, oh, I just beat some guy who was playing his newbie race, and that's just what's good about that. The worst is when you actually have a really hard time, and it's like a half-hour game, and then it turns out the guy was playing his off race, and then he's like, oh, I guess I just suck then. Spank SCV actually doing the drone trick, squeezing out a little bit of extra economy, and now he's got a drone wandering off into the deep, dark reaches of the map. Are we about to see a hidden base?
9-9 hatch. That is usually that is followed up with Zergling aggression, I believe, and I do like the fact that he's hidden it a little bit. That way, Faust is gonna be a little bit late in recognizing just how many Zerglings are coming at him, which could be a huge deal for him.
Yeah, absolutely. It seems like we're seeing a real hidden base meta developing for this
Uh-huh.
league, by the way. Um, yeah, I can't wait to see how many players actually come out with hidden base strategies, if that's even a thing when the league actually kicks in. But yeah, we do have hatchery happening now for Faust as well. More standard 12 hatch at his natural, and we've got a spawning pool coming in now for Crispy Drone and Gas as well on the way in. Crispy Drone, by the way, as a name, makes me hungry. I'm just gonna say.
It makes me think of a drone that got you know, roasted,
Toasted.
yeah, by a fire
Yeah.
bat.
And it's crispy. I
Yeah,
imagine they've got like a really nice sort of crunch to
yeah.
them.
Crispy is a succulent word to use.
Yeah,
You
it
could have
is.
used
So,
yeah, but looking at the builds right now, I have to favor 12 hatch against 9-9. I mean 10-9-9. I just because the travel distance on this map, I feel like it's a little bit long. That by the time the Zerglings from Spank get to Spouse's base, I feel like the Zerglings will be in place.
Yeah, absolutely. And we see the drone advantage coming in already. 13 drones right now for Faust versus 9 for Spank SCB,
Yeah.
aka Crispy Drone. So that's a really big deficit. And as long as Faust is on point with his Zergling positioning in defense, then he should be just fine. The only concern is that his Zergling speed is obviously going to be significantly later. So that could cause him some hassle if his positioning, like I say, is not actually really actually quite good on the defense, then he could have some difficulty dealing with the speedlings right there.
But he is actually going 3 hatch behind this, which is quite interesting. I feel like he is, you know, trying to force that situation where it turned into a late game ZVZ. But one thing that is to be noted is the fact that because of the fact that he had so much extra money, and because of the fact that Spank SCV had to pull 3 drones and make a gas early, his economy is so hurt that I feel like the sunken being here, and the Zergling production now is going to be enough to rebuff this attack.
Yeah, I feel like you're right, and this is very sensible from Faust, and this is a good example of sort of having a good handle of what kind of thing your opponent is going for and playing accordingly, knowing how far you can take it, knowing how far your advantage stretches, and what you can invest before that advantage gets negated. And Faust seems to be managing that balancing act quite well.
And he's being extra
Not,
safe now with the second creep
yeah,
colony.
being very safe. But here comes the big Zergling attack right now from Spank SCV. He's going to get a decent position on the Zerglings fast, and it looks like the circuit colony, is going to go down as well as all of these Zerglings. And this is the kind of thing I was talking about, just not good enough positioning right there from Faust, and now he's suddenly in big trouble against an attack which really shouldn't have had many legs. And GG from
Wow.
Faust.
I feel like, I mean, I think he miscalculated simply because of the hidden hatchery. He had the Overlord on the path of the other hatcheries, of the main hatcheries. He saw how many Zerglings were coming in, so he kind of guesstimated like, oh, I need about this much. So I can completely understand why he didn't commit as much as we might wanted of him to. But that's the hindsight 2020 observer's curse. We see it, but he does not see. So he might have been
Yeah.
completely fine against a one hatch speedling build, but against a two hatch speedling build, not so much.
Yeah, and again, yep, it's the hidden strategy. It does make it difficult to prepare. But even still, I feel like if his Zergling positioning was more careful, then he could have done a lot more with that. If he'd have made sure he got a good concave and wasn't too easily pulled out of position, if he'd have got a drone drill on that as well, then he may not have come out absolutely sunshining, but he may have been able to at least sort of break even on that attack and hold his natural expansion instead of just falling apart right away.
Absolutely true. And one thing that I would say is that I feel like if you know that your opponent's main build is going to be Zergling aggression, it doesn't hurt to split your drones a little bit, have a few more drones in your natural, just in case you need to throw in some additional help, because drones behind Zerglings do a great job in Zergling encounters, especially when you're trying to
Yeah.
protect sunken colonies. So he only had one drone there, which didn't do anything for him. So I think
Mm.
maybe I'm not very experienced in ZVZ, but I think maybe if his drones were split a little bit better, he could have had more fighting forces there at the time.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely agreed. Where does that put us now with the score? Let's have a quick look.
Yeah, Team Rocket is still at one. The Herbmon win was for Team Rocket. Team Victory with Dragon Pain and Crispy Drone taking two quick ones.
Yes,
And
of course.
now we're moving into the next game. Demurity, a Terran player, on against Atom Bomb on Queensbridge, which is the second foreign map that is also a two-player map.
All right. I
And
feel like I didn't learn much about Overwatch right there, by the way.
you didn't learn too much about Overwatch, you
No,
said?
I didn't.
Oh, okay.
Zerg v Zerg often feels like it could just sort of be on any map. And
True.
that's, I suppose, why often you've seen Zerg v Zergs historically in maps which can be significantly unbalanced one way or the other, is that everyone sends out a Zerg. And so the balance issue is just totally negated.
True. And one thing that I do want to mention one interesting thing about that map that we didn't get to see. There's pretty much three paths between the two mains, and in the middle there's almost like a Blue Storm or Loki style gap, right? So if you just
Right.
1A, 2A, 3A your army from your natural to the enemy natural is going to try to go through that tiny gap. You have to actively be microing your units around so you don't get, run into mines, lurkers, siege tanks, whatever. So that's what makes
Yeah.
that map a little bit interesting in the modern meta because we haven't seen a map of that nature in a long time.
No, absolutely. Well, hopefully we'll see that a little bit more because yeah, that kind of map feature can certainly add a little bit of extra spice to things, but at the same time, it can really bamboozle some. Oh God, I remember how I used to play on Blue Storm
Hmm.
when I was D plus or so, and it was just hideous. I could never get my army in the right place at the right time, never get my rally points. It's just terrible. It was impossible.
All right, we're hearing that
Uh,
the stream is dead, so I'm gonna check it real quick before we continue, uh, just to make sure that we are still casting.
go for it. And it was
Oh yeah, actually, yeah, it looks like it's good. All right, it was just maybe a hiccup for somebody. All right, so moving on, into our
Kuryu
Queensbridge.
raising the alarm.
All right, 1, 2, 3, go. All right, that's completely pointless, considering that there's a countdown right
The
here.
pre countdown.
Yeah.
4 and 3 and 2 and 1. Okay, do the shout outs.
All right, in the top right we have the brown Zerg Atom Bomb, and in the bottom left we have the white Terran Thunder Pain, aka Demurity. Now,
So we do indeed.
and let's look at the map and reveal all maps since you're not as familiar with it, and I don't think many of our viewers are. This map, I feel like it's kind of reminiscent again of that the principle where the center should not be that easy to get to through the most natural way, which is the two bridges, and it's a lot easier to manually go around these high grounds and such to flank your opponent from the high ground. Again, reminiscent of
Yeah.
Loki a little bit, but not as demanding on the choke point.
Mm. And this kind of map is very interesting to see because, as you say, it allows for a lot of more interesting army movements, and that's something which, excuse me, players don't always necessarily take maximum advantage of. But a player who is aware of the possibilities and who is aware of the strength of good army movement and of keen army movement can really make something happen here because flanks and army positioning is actually so crucial in pretty much every matchup in this game. Less so in TVT in the sense of constantly moving armies, but even still, map positioning very, very important. So it'll be nice to see whether these players stay stay aware of those possibilities there.
Absolutely. I feel that in every matchup that is non-mirror, there is the prerogative of one of the races to surround the other. In ZVT, it's for Zerg to surround Terran. In PVT, it's for Protoss to surround Terran. In TVP,
Yeah,
I mean, which one did I miss? In PVZ, it's for Zerg to surround Protoss. So the art of surrounding is crucial in every non-mirror matchup, and these bridges, these high grounds, these different ways of going around make it much more likely to happen for a person who commits the time and effort to it.
yeah.
It's a skill check, I would call it. That's why I like to call these little features on maps. I would call them skill
Yeah,
checks.
I'd say that's a good term for it. And aside from surrounding as well, it gives you further options because, for example, if you're being pushed by a heavy Terran army, then it can often be good to get around the back and prevent reinforcements and this kind of thing, and be able to whittle the main army down from there. So again, that kind of thing is allowed by a map which has these interesting pathways and different possibilities. So again, I like this kind of map, and I think it makes for more interesting games. We do have a hatchery already happening for Atom Bomb at the natural, and now the spawning pool after that as well. Meanwhile, no crazy fast expand or anything from Thunder Pain so far. He's just getting himself going, getting some SCVs out, and looking like he's going to make ready to get that command center started.
Yeah, this SCV I feel like was sent to do that, but he got caught up in the SCV micro most likely, and now he's going to be
Yeah.
throwing down this command center right here. And
SCVs don't have much initiative, do they? You say, right, SCV, you go to the natural and you just click on some minerals. And the SCV is like, oh, okay, I guess I'll go and mine some minerals then. And you're like, no, think what you might be doing there when I've got 400 minerals in the bank. Just think about it for a second, Mr. SCV.
if you click on the SCV and look at his facial expression, he does not look like the most intelligent of people. Like, just like the bug-eyed, like blank face, like he looks like this, more or less. Let me see. Like that.
He doesn't, yeah,
and look, he
exactly.
just yawned. He's like, he's clearly not thinking too hard.
And he picks his nose as well, so that tells you all you need to know about this guy.
For Zerg,
picking his nose in a closed environment.
Third hatch right by the main hatch. I'm not sure I agree with this. I would really like to see Zergs put their third hatch somewhere near the cliff, so that they can force the Tyrant to scan at least twice to look for tech buildings, and then they still might not get it. It's kind of like what's that? Is it Monty Python, that like that 3-door and you have two choices, or no, you have one choice, 3 doors? Yeah, it's like that in the sense that you have to think, where would the Zerg place his spire? And sometimes Zerg will put it like in their natural, and you scan their cliff hatch or something. So it decreases the chance for a Terran to find out what the Zerg is doing. Scouting is getting picked off here as the command center comes out.
Yep, nice little pick off right there. And yeah, you're totally right. Having said that, this hatchery placement does still allow some kind of off-key positioning, I suppose, if you're going to position some tech in an unusual place. The odds that someone's going to scout sort of over to the bottom left-hand side of that hatchery are pretty low to scan there, sorry. So I guess there are still some possibilities there, but on the whole, I certainly agree with you, and that is something that we often see from players as well. Lair now coming in for Atom Bomb. Meanwhile, Thunder Pain just getting his natural expansion really cooking along, and getting his Marine range upgrade now, and his Weapons 1 upgrade, sorry, as well.
Do you agree with this bunker? Do you think he made it because of the fact that his SCV got picked off, so he wasn't sure how many lings were coming at him?
Yeah, I think so, and in that vein, yes, I do agree with the bunker. It's better to keep your scout alive, obviously, but if you haven't kept your scout alive and you can't know what's coming at you, then play it safe. Bunkers are not expensive, and unless you're playing at the very highest level, it's unlikely that expenditure is going to be what's going to cost you the game versus the number of games you're going to lose just from a surprise zergling attack.
Absolutely true. I feel like that's one of the good things about ladder. A lot of people nowadays, I hear they're complaining about ladder. Oh, D level is too hard. You play against B players and stuff, and I prefer to play friendlies, right? But I feel like when points are on the line, you're much more likely to face builds that are cheesy, hyper aggressive, and so ladder prepares you for those builds very well. I used to play on East, right? Go cannon, like, Nexus fast expand in Protoss vs Zerg, never get punished for it, right? Go on IC Cup, I get Ling Rush so often that I finally learned how to actually do a Forge expand,
Yeah, because you have to, because otherwise you're just going to lose every game. And now we do have lurkers coming in for Atom Bomb. So yeah, more in the sort of current meta game, I'm going to say, because this is the way that a lot of Zergs have been trying to deal with the modern Terran way of playing. And now we have a Zergling dash coming in on top of these Marines. The Marine micro is decent, but he will lose every single one of that expeditionary force, and he's going to have to be forced way back into his natural. Actually, he's got no Marines left but one back in his natural, and he should probably get that one into his bunker before it gets picked up, because that's all he's got.
He scared him off, I think. I think he did it on purpose. Like, this was a ballsy, like, like, here, like, I don't even need this, I mean? Like you can't run in here. I have more in my bunker. He ran in, saw that he was getting shot, and he realized, oh, man, he must have at least 5 Marines, considering the fact that one of them is outside the bunker. I feel like maybe a micro mind game, because I feel like he could have just stimmed it and put it in the bunker otherwise.
Yeah.
And he actually sneaks out a scouting SCV here as well. And I do want to go back to what you were saying about going Lurker as a standard meta now. I definitely agree with you. It's because of the hyper-aggressive 5 racks plus 1 that is making Lurker a popular option.
It's just hurting everybody, yeah.
And now the Zerg is making the sunken colonies. I really like the fact that he waited to do this. He could have, a lot of worse Zergs, they throw down creep colonies before they need to, and they throw down sunken colonies before they need to. Just wait, you could spend that money on drones in the meantime.
Yeah, precisely. I feel like Atom Bomb is now in a really, really nice defensive position. After picking off that task force, that expeditionary force of Marines early on, that really gives him the impetus right now. And we can see that he's got a good number of Lurkers morphing in currently as well. That third base, though, is still just looking a little bit exposed. Thunder Pain with good micro and good positioning could potentially still be able to take it out, simply because there isn't a single Lurker morphing in that third. They're all morphing as natural. And now let's see how Thunder Pain deals with this. Nice Marine pull, saving them all and managing to pick up a Lurker as well. And this is the kind of thing that can now start to cause some problems for Atom Bomb if he can't get at least one Lurker over there to the third base.
And he does run out with 2 Lurkers outside the base. Thunder Pain not doing the greatest job of being aware of the outside of Atom Bomb's natural. That was one thing that I was holding against, but there's a scouting SCV here. It catches on. But I was going to say that one thing that Atom Bomb could have done is move some of those. He did not need 5 Hydras morphing in front of his Sunkens.
Absolutely.
He could have had 2 of them out there, and the Lurkers moved up a little bit. They shot 2 Marines. But to finish my thought, I was trying to say that he could have had 2 Hydras morphing at his third, or 2 Hydras morphing at 12 o'clock, for example, instead of having 5 here.
Exactly, but why now we don't see Thunder Pain getting in on that third base is bizarre to me. I don't know why he's let himself get so distracted by these 2 Lurkers which are out on the map. He had the Zerg third in the palm of his hand right there, to the point where Atom Bomb hasn't even bothered to set his drones mine. He clearly just hatched some stuff there and was like, oh well, I'll do something more important, because that base is obviously not going to go the distance. But that base completely undefended for the longest time there. I don't know if Atom Bomb, if Thunder was even aware that it was there.
I don't think so. I saw him scan bottom right, and I feel like after he scanned bottom right, he was like, oh, I guess I scared him so bad, you know what I mean? It's always hard not to get so comfortable, you know what I mean? Like, for me, mentally, like, when I see that, when I don't find an expansion where I expect it, I'm like, oh, this guy just sucks, you know? Oh, pushing up the hill, very questionable, and wow, nice run away, only lost 1 Marine there. But this position is now strong for the Zerg. I mean, he has Lurkers on both cliffs around the Terran base. Terran, meanwhile, trying to set up a third base.
He's got a dropship as well. We've got a dropship ready to do some action. It's just sort of hovering around the natural at the minute. But there's a whole load of Marines there ready to be loaded up. But it looks like we've got a flank coming in for Atom Bomb. He's going to be able to burrow all those Lurkers down and potentially catch this tank as well. He is going to catch that tank, and the Marines, there just aren't enough of them there. A Lurker flank coming in now as well. And he's going to cause some real massive damage to the Terran army right now. Able to pull back with submarines, and he's going to try and get over there and defend his third. But the Lurkers burrow down, and they're going to be tough to clean out. And now Lurkers coming into the natural as well. But there's nothing right here for Thunder to defend us. That is a lot of Lurkers.
Oh my god. That is just tragic to see.
Yeah, that's
Lurkers
really
so good.
Oh, this is about to get really bad. He's going to have to try and push into this.
He's dropping the Marines and Medics right on top of the Sunken and the Lynx. He's completely being overtaxed by this Zerg player. He cannot keep up in terms of multitasking. The Terran is Demurity, by the way. I'll type it in.
And this is what it looks like. This is what we mean when we say somebody is falling apart.
Yeah.
This is what happens when a player falls apart. When their army gets destroyed, and then suddenly just everything goes wrong. Like the army's dead, the SCVs are dead, he threw away his dropship and all the units that were in it, and it's just everything went south. Within the space of about 40 seconds, he went from in a decent position to being to being dead and finished.
Yeah.
And yeah, right now he's lost most of the SCVs which he had mining as his natural.
Yeah.
He's got cash in the bank just enough to make a couple of rounds of macro, but after that he's going to find himself out of money and out of options. Meanwhile, I mean, we've seen Atom Bomb very, very slow to get that third base working properly. So his economy, again, like we saw before, the multitasking isn't quite there, so his economy isn't quite up to the spot that it should be, and he's got a lot of money in the bank as well. So his advantage isn't quite as massive as it should be, but he still does have a major advantage coming off the back.
He did get Hive. He's just getting Ultraless Cavern now. I'm surprised by about the fact that they're going Ultra instead of Defiler here. I feel like Defiler would have been the better choice considering the Lurker style that he opened with. But
yeah, I'd have to agree. And also given the potential that Atom Bomb has to, get right up in Demurity's face at this point. There's no reason why Defiler wouldn't be a good choice.
And also considering the fact that he only has 36 drones, 3 bases, right? And he banked up a lot of gas. That seems like a ripe economy for Defiler as opposed to an Ultra choice. But he does have the opportunity to drone up a little bit right now, I feel. And he is doing that ever so slowly at his 3rd base. And he has thrown down a 4th base as well at 12 o'clock.
Yep, and he's still got extra money in the bank. It feels like he'd really benefit from another hatchery or so, just to help him keep up with the money situation getting a bit out of hand.
And he actually is going Defiler and Ultra at the same time, so it's gonna be curious to see how he plays out. He is getting consumed, so I stand corrected. He is getting that. I clicked up the main and I saw the Ultraless Cavern, did not see the that was called, I'm sorry, the Defiler 9. And oh, this might be bad. Oh, nice split on the Marines there. That was clean. Like, he saw the Russian was being attacked, and now we have Irradiates galore. Not enough Scourge here to deal with this.
Yeah, not even close. And this is where the Zerg needs to be a little bit careful because his army actually is still really rather small. And it's still a little bit of time before that big army is going to kick in with the high tech that he's been working on.
Yeah.
And so much tech at once. I don't really like the way he's done this. He needs to be sort of focusing on a tech path and making it work. He doesn't have anything like enough units to dive in right here now. He needs to pull back and he needs to start playing the delaying game and buy himself some time.
The ultimate goal of the Terran in this situation is to contain the Zerg right at the time when Consume is finished, and Consume is just about done right now, so he is doing a decent job of preventing a Terran from cutting off any future armies, but he himself has also lost quite a few Lurkers, and he's now transitioned almost entirely into an Ultralisk Armory with one Ultra with 1/1, and getting speed before armor as well, so maybe there's something that we don't know, but somehow I feel it's an
suboptimal.
It's suboptimal. Good word. Yes.
Sale told me that. He always used to say it.
Okay,
I used to laugh at him, but actually it's really.
Oh, this dropship is gonna get picked off. Perfect. Beautiful play. The dropship.
Very nice.
Yes, that dropship could have done a lot of damage in this main base. I feel like look at all the tech in one place. It's just ripe for the picking here. So picking off that dropship was crucial.
Yeah, I worry that Thunder is slightly overextending here by taking Demurity, is slightly overextending by taking a 3rd now, but I suppose he's got to try something. But I just don't think he's got any way to defend this, and I think this is just going to be a waste of money. I think he'd be a bit better off just sort of focusing more heavily on doing some damage, but he's able to get all the way over to the 3rd without the Zerg army getting anything close to him. And now the question is, can he establish a good position and take out that 3rd, but without losing everything back at home as well? Because we have Ultralisk coming in, the size massive goes down, just managing to get an Irradiate off on one of those Ultralisks, but this is really nasty. The Zerg army now on top of those reinforcing siege tanks and managing to take down everything right there. And it looks like Demurity is just going to push straight on towards the Zerg Natural and try and get something done here, but he's going to get flanked really badly at this rate, unless something absolutely magical happens. Those 3 siege tanks are ripe for picking at this rate.
Yes, absolutely, and they're actually out of range of the Sunken that they should have been within range of, so this is...
Yeah, and siege and walking forward a little.
Yeah, he's going to have to make himself vulnerable for 1 second at least. But somehow, as a miracle, this 3rd base stays because of the fact that he went for this backdoor maneuver here.
Yeah, and that can be a good thing to do. And again, that's what we were talking about with the map earlier. But here comes the Zerg flank. Dark Swarm going down all over everything. Absolutely horrible situation right now for the Terran. He's going to be pushed all the way back away from the Zerg Natural. And that's going to be totally cleaned up. Reinforcements are out in the middle of the map, and it doesn't matter. There's no way they're going to be able to get over there and do anything. He's just going to have to pull back and try and establish a decent position and keep that 3rd alive now that he's invested in it. But the Zerg, is headed now straight over to that 3rd. So now he knows it's there. This is going to be tough enough for Demirity to hang on to. He's going to have to do something special now that the Zerg macro is ready to kick in. But again, we see Atom Bomb going up to over 2,000 minerals. He needs to get spending if he's going to be able to take advantage of the situation.
And he's supply blocked as well. That's something else to be noted.
Yes, so he is, exactly. He just needs to be more on top of that because this way the Terran does still have half a chance. I'm only saying half because even still it looks like he's ready to get overwhelmed right now. I don't see any way for the Terran army to hold on. You need some absolutely heroic Marines right here.
And the mines so far have been doing a great job of helping, but he unfortunately did not have any protecting his third base. He has to be lifting it right about now unless these lurkers burrow and hurt him a lot.
Yeah, and all those SCVs going to go down. Just
a couple of games, he needs to be careful how he runs these SCVs away.
I think that moment has already passed. I think these SCVs are toast. There you go. And oh, look at that! SCV is so imbalanced. The toughest worker ever, making it through all those lurker spines. But the Terran is just being torn to shreds right now. He's got 65 supply, and if you're at 65 supply at 17 minutes, then you're usually in a fairly rough spot.
With 37 drones marching to your death with the rally.
Yeah, that's pretty unpleasant. And now the Zerg's just going to be able to stream units at him until the ultimate capitulation. And taking out the Vulture right there. And there's just nothing at this natural expansion. This is absolutely hideous position for the Terran player. Positioning some Marines on the ramp where they can be most cost effective. But it's no more than a last stand as the Zerg force streams into his natural expansion. Irradiated Ultralisk in the mineral line. And that's the one situation in which Irradiated Ultralisk is actually bad for the Terran.
I think it's on hold position. He's intentionally holding it there, and he's holding one at the gas as well. GG.
Yeah. GG indeed.
Wow.
Absolutely slammed right there at the end. Again, it felt like a fairly one-sided game after the early game situation. It could have gone so much for our Terran player right there. Third base right there. If he'd have just poked up that ramp, anything at all, then he would have been onto a good thing there. But as a result, he was just kind of caught all over the map, and the Zerg was just able to tear him to shreds. Even with macro that was well below where it should have been, he was still able to constantly just destroy the Terran army.
Absolutely. And I feel like the scan on the bottom right did put Terran in a false sense of security to some degree. I mean, one thing that I always tell my students, even though I personally am not very good at Terran at all, I feel like it's a lot more economical to have one SCV out on the map patrolling some bases. You could shift click bases, right, and move it with one SCV in a triangle in the most likely location for the Zerg expansion, and then use your scans elsewhere on the map if you need to.
Yeah.
So I feel like his lack of awareness of the expansion really cost him there, and that officially hands Team Victory the victory with a 3-1 score. But we do have Game 5 available to us as well because the games were played independently from one another. And I did say that all 5 would be casted. So are you ready to go into the next game?
I'm ready for Game 5. Let's see if Team Rocket can regain some honor right here and bring it back to a respectable 3-2 scoreline to end.
Absolutely. We have Tai 2 as the Zerg and Art of Turtle as the Zerg on Latin Quarter, which is, I would say, the most FS-like of the 4 maps that I've seen recently. It's kind of do you know Wind and Cloud, that map?
No, I do not know Wind and Cloud. No.
Okay. Well, that came out a few years ago, so it was kind of in that transitory period, I believe. But basically, it's FS style mains, and then there's a bunch of high grounds in the middle, kind of like Gladiator almost. I don't know. You'll see. We'll look over it when we get in. All right.
Awesome. So let's have a look.
Okay, and Tai 2 is actually the captain of Team Rocket. He was I chose Dragon Pain as the strongest player to be captain of Team Victory, and then he chose the other captain, which was Tai 2, because he considered Tai 2 to be the second strongest player. And that's who we see at the bottom left. Tai 2 has the brown Zerg, and the top left we have the red Zerg, Art of Turtle.
Okay, so it's Zerg v Zerg to finish. Tai 2 coming out to try and regain honor for his team, and of course he's the captain. He needs to lead by example right here and show everybody what he's about. Not too spammy right here. Tai 2 just sitting sweetly at around about 150 APM, just chilling in the early game, kind of Bakuryu style, taking it easy, not making any big flashy shows of APM-iness.
And
we'll see where the openings go from here.
Yeah, it looks like both are getting up to at least 9 drones, so we're not seeing any early pull shenanigans at least.
Yeah, true that. And we have the Overlord going out clockwise from everybody, so that means Taitu is going to get the first scout on Art of Turtle. Um, yeah, Overlord coming in right now from Art of Turtle, and the same again for Taitu as well. So no crazy 10 9 drone hatchery action like we saw previously. No hidden base as of yet, although it's still early days. It could still happen. And yeah, let's hope to see some better Zergling control in this game than we saw out of Faust, because we can see how you can be in a decent position and still just lose through lack of preparation and through lack of attention to detail. And that's always unfortunate to see when a player like Faust is in a good position and has every reason to go on to a victory. To see them take a loss, especially so early on, is very unfortunate.
I completely agree. Um, there is one thing to be noted here, though. I don't think that this gas placement from Art of I mean, this sunk spawning pool placement is correct from Art of Turtle. It kind of blocks this back middle, forces this drone to walk around. I don't know what the benefit of placing it here as opposed to one more unit to the right would be. And in the meantime, we see Taitu placing it completely to the right of the gas, which I would say is probably the more correct option. It's easier to defend any if you put your Spire in your main base, and if you put a sunken behind that or a Spore colony if need be. I feel like this is the better position than what Art of Turtle went for. And Art of Turtle actually going for a hatchery behind this, so already slight divergence in the builds, but Taitu is completely aware of it because of his Overlord scouting pattern, as you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, absolutely. So you have to assume that it's a decent count. Excuse me, that he's got a decent counter ready for what he's seeing. And indeed, we have the Lair already morphing for Taitu. And speed, yep, Zergling speed coming in as well, and the first 6 Zerglings popping out right now. So once again, it's going to be up here on the Art of Turtle to get defending and make these Zerglings useful. We only see 4 Zerglings out of him so far, another couple on the way, but if he gets his Zerglings caught on the way to his opponent, that's going to be bad indeed. He needs to pull these back immediately. No, taking some hits to one of his Zerglings. This is not what we need to see at all, and right now he's getting pushed back, and the Zergling speed is going to kick in for Taitu as well, much before Art of Turtles, I believe. No, it's going to be slightly later only, but even still, this is pretty bad situation right now for Art of Turtle. He's going to have to be able to utilize his drones and get drilling down into his natural if he's going to be able to preserve that hatchery.
At the same time, it's do or die for Taitu, because I believe even if his layer is going to finish quite a bit sooner, he has to do some damage with this, otherwise Art of Turtle is going to outproduce him in Zergling count.
Yeah, absolutely. And Art of Turtle actually dealing with that very calmly, not rushing into anything. But nice Zergling positioning right there for Taitu. And it looks like he's going to get an advantage in this battle right away. And he's going to be able to now push further in with his Zerglings and perhaps get a decent position getting up the ramp now as well. Oh, that's a big deal if he's able to just catch a few drones. And we all know how big of a deal that is in Zerg v Zerg. 2 more Zerglings at the natural as well, ready to start doing some damage there while they're not being watched. And they're going to go to town on the drones. That is a bad situation. I'm not sure if Art of Turtle's aware of that at all. He doesn't seem to really have a handle on what's going on in his natural. Meanwhile, Taitu just going to be running around those Zerglings in the main all day, and now finally Art of Turtle realizes what's going on.
Oh my god. It's definitely, this highlights kind of the difficulty of the defender player in a harassment advantage. Even though both players had roughly equal unit counts, the person who is the aggressor always has the initiative and the advantage. I mean, that's by definition they have the initiative, but in the sense that you're forcing the other person to divide their attention to where you already pre-programmed your attention to be. And you can clearly see it there, where the art of the aggressor by Taitu was absolutely fantastic, and he is coming up to his Spire now. It's almost done, whereas
I don't like that there's no lings left for him, though. I don't like that he's going to have to... Oh, no, excuse me, there are lings left at the ramp.
Yes,
okay.
And he has a sunken colony on the way as well. I feel like he's in a very good position. He had a great ramp concave here. Trying to set it up again, gets a beautiful concave again. And even if some of these lings get in there, I don't feel like they'll be able to do very much. This sunken placement was absolutely fantastic on this base, and this is exactly what I was talking about earlier. This placement from Taitu is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, and that's exactly the kind of thing you need to see when you're trying to utilize the defender's advantage. Art of Turtle just wasn't able to effectively utilize a defender's advantage. Like Faust earlier, it's not as easy as a good player makes it look. You have to be really on point, otherwise you are going to get caught out, as we've seen twice now today. And it looks like Art of Turtle is going to try and get in there and get something done as the first Meatless pop out, because this really is his last chance to make anything happen, but there's absolutely no way he's going to be able to do any damage whatsoever right here. Maybe at most he's going to be able to catch one drone running around with the Zerglings, and GG.
Oh wow. I mean, I hate to say it, but this was I mean, Tai 2 had the advantage from the start because of the spawning positions, the Overlord scouting pattern. Both players scouted in the correct direction, but I feel even looking past that advantage, we can clearly see where the superior Zerg play was. From the person who is B
Yes,
minus and above
certainly.
versus the person who is C plus. Some things to note for Art of Turtle is definitely working on your multitasking when you're being pressured on two fronts. We could see him
Yeah.
juggling, trying to juggle the two balls and dropping one every second or so. Like
Yeah, certainly.
every time I clicked on a base, I saw that there was an inactive Zergling somewhere standing next to
Mm,
two enemy Zerglings that were killing a drone. Like I would check the
yeah.
natural, that's what's happening. I would check the main, that's what's happening. So definitely I need to work on your multitask.
Yeah, you've got to be aware at all moments. Yeah, very unfortunate situation right there where we saw us that are just completely unable to keep up with what Taitu is doing. Taitu just definitely coming across as a superior player overall in that situation.
All right, and that concludes our cast of the day. We have for the coaches show match, Team Rocket netting 2 wins, Herbmon and Tai2. Herbmon and Tai2 getting 1 win apiece. For Team Victory, we have Dragon Pain, Crispy Drone, and Atom Bomb, each taking a win for their team, and Team Victory coming out victorious. I hope you guys enjoyed this show match. I'm gonna let Elegant do an outro and speak for himself as well. But I just want to let you guys know that we will be trying to cast, or at least I will be trying to cast with various casters in the future. At least one event match of this nature per week. We are thinking about doing some grudge match series. People who played each other in the past. Maybe you got cheesed on ladder way too hard. You want to show them up in a best of five that's to be casted. So do look forward to that in the future. I don't have anything to promise for you today in terms of the specifics, but there will be something coming next week around this time. And I do want to
Awesome.
say, I'm sorry, thank you. I want to say thank you, Elegant, for coming into cast with us. Definitely brought a little bit more professionalism to our amateurish hour here.
I do what I can. Thanks very much for having me on the stream. It's really fun to see some different players and see some different maps, and to get involved in something that's happening in the community because I really like what you set up here. So rather what's been set up here. So I really hope that this league overall is a success. And I'm glad to be able to support that.
Thank you very much. So you're saying that I can call on you in the future if you want to do this again?
Yeah, absolutely. Bring it on. I mean, 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock on a Saturday is generally a pretty good time. I mean, the evening hasn't started yet, and the afternoon's just coming to an end. So yeah, let's make it more of a thing in the future.
All right, I'm definitely going to hit you up again. And once again, thank you so much for coming in. And thank you to our players for playing. Thank you to our viewers for viewing. And I guess shout outs to Team Liquid as well for everything. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thank you very much for watching.